Well, it's been a while, but I finally have done day 37, which is to have a watercolor background. So I'm certainly no expert at painting, but what I've decided to do is I got some A4 watercolor paper and I've completely wet it. So you can see that there's a little bit of shine on it because it's wet. And then I'm just adding random colors. So I'll do 3 sheets of watercolor paper with some colors that I feel like sort of could blend together nicely, and then I will dry them off and you'll see that I will cut them up to create some journaling cards. So just while you're watching me create my backgrounds, I just want to address something. I had a particularly nasty comment on one of my videos that I did about a week and a half ago, accusing me of completely copying one particular person. That particular project, I mentioned in my video that I was inspired by lots of people, which is actually accurate. I did watch probably 10 to 12 different videos of the same style of project. The person that they said I copied, I actually went and had a look to see if I'd watched their video, and they had multiple videos on that particular project, and I had watched about 5 minutes of one of their videos, which was 40 minutes long. So I had seen it. It wasn't a complete copy, clearly, because I hadn't watched their full video, but I did link several people whose videos I watched down the bottom, including that person that I was accused of copying. I in no way am trying to claim ideas as my own. Some of them are my own, or I may have seen something from a long time ago, or something slightly influenced me, but I'm certainly not trying to take someone else's idea and pass it off as my own, and I didn't do that in that video. I just didn't name that one person because it wasn't one person whose videos I saw, it was lots of people. So yeah, when I am influenced by one particular person, I will mention them, and if I'm able to, I will link them in the description of my video as well. So yeah, it's funny how the people that always make the rude comments, I haven't had that many. I've had a few that are a little bit off. That one was definitely the most aggressive. There are always people who have some kind of really random name on their YouTube channel. They have no videos and usually no followers either. Like, it's like they're a like a troll. They're set up to deliberately attack people. So I find them really interesting. Certainly no one is making nasty comments that are making their own videos, because they know that, you know, sometimes you go off screen, or sometimes someone's not going to like what you do. But you know, people that are making videos understand that most of us are not experts at this, and we're just sharing what we do because we think it might inspire other people or give up other people ideas from seeing what we do. It's certainly, for me, it's not a profession, it's a hobby, and I'm getting so many lovely comments, and I love all my subscribers that have been really lovely, and I'm trying to do videos and just sharing what I'm making because it might give you some kind of idea. Anyway, let's go back to my project that I'm doing right now, Rant Over. So I've just blended in a few different watercolors, and I'm just drying it with a hairdryer. And then what I actually will do is I stick each of my 3 cards down onto some really old notebook paper, which is already a bit yellowing. I didn't have to tea dye it. So that will be the background for the journaling. So this is my second color wave. All the watercolors actually look really, really bright. But by the time I dry them all, you'll see that they fade down. So I do like bright colors, as you've probably seen in some of my projects. But I don't want these backgrounds to be overwhelming. So by the time they dry, they do fade down a bit. Because my paper is so wet, I actually tilt them up a bit each time just to let the colours run into each other. It just makes it look interesting, and also some of the colour runs off the page. Okay, so this is a really old notepad of lined paper, and you can see it's already aging around the outside, and it's the perfect size to be able to glue onto the back of my three coloured watercolour papers. I don't think I filmed one of them, sorry. I think I must have tried it first just to see if it worked, because I just noticed I haven't filmed it, but you'll see the colours in a minute are blues and greens. So my first page is stuck down now. This was my other page that you didn't see me paint in blues and greens. So I'm sticking that one down. So it has nice lined paper on the back for the journaling space. And then I'll stick down my last one. So what I decide to do with these 3 pages of watercolour is I decide to cut them up into 6 pieces. I don't do any measuring. You'll end up seeing that the 6 pieces are all different sizes. They're all rectangles, but they're all different sizes. And I do trim off a little bit around the edges as well, just to neaten them up. So my intention is that these will be journaling cards, and on the front I will decorate them with the watercolor background, and obviously the back I will leave plain with the old notebook paper as a journaling space. So I've actually cut up 18 journaling cards, but I decided to just decorate 12 of them, and I've kept some of the other ones extra for another project later on. Sorry about the changing of the lighting. I'm not sure why my camera keeps changing the colours, but I keep noticing the matte keeps changing colour. But I just showed you a card that I did as a little trial run. So I've pulled out a bunch of different bits of ephemera and stickers and things like that. And I'm going to do some decorating using my little fairy altered little girl stickers. I've used them in a couple of projects before, but I really love them. So I've picked 12 of them, and I've fussy cut around them because they did all have a white border, and they're each going to go on one of my journal cards. So each time I've made a little card, I pull out my cutting machine and I just cut off a little bit of the watercolor card at the top if I feel like there's too much watercolor space at the top. So they're my first 2, and now I'm going to go ahead and make the other 10. So just to give you an idea of how I'm doing these, I've got my watercolored cards. I'm sticking down some little bits and pieces of decoration and ephemera. Most of them I've put some clothing pattern piece on the card, like that script on this one is from that. And then I have some tickets that I got from, I think they came from Artie Mays, and that decorative trim down the side is one of my digitals from an antique piece of trim I bought in Italy. And then on each one I stick one of the little fairies with the crowns and the wings, and on most of them I also stick a little it's like a old Wizard of Oz stamp that's actually a sticker. So my 12 cards are now done, and my idea is that I want to add a little fabric ruffle at the top of each of these cards. So I've got some strips of fabric. Some of them are scraps, some of them I've just torn off the selvage. Most of them are liberties or old fabrics or scrap bits and pieces that I've got. And I'm just playing around with which fabrics I think could go with which cards. And then I'm going to sew the ruffle trims. I think the first person I saw doing this was when I first started journaling, and I think it was Sue from Paper Inspirations that I saw doing this first, but I know that lots of people make these fabric ruffles. So I'm just showing you now that I've stitched around 3 sides of my card before I'm going to add the ruffle at the top. So here's a couple that I've started. I'm not going to show you the stitching because I can't quite get my camera on the right angle and it's too dark, it doesn't look good. But just so you can see, here are all a bunch of ruffles that I've made out of strips of fabric. I'll try and find Sue's video. It's probably from 1.5 to 2 years ago. And so that will show you how to make these, but I have made a whole bunch, and now I go ahead back and I pull out my cards again and just match the ruffles with which card I want them to go with. So I do want a little bit of contrast. I don't want the fabrics to be too matchy to the card, so that the fabric ruffles will stand out. And all the ruffles are going to be sewn straight across the top. And I literally will end up with a double or even a triple sew line at the top, which looks nice and messy and rustic, which is what I like. So I'll be back in a minute once I've done that. Okay, so here are my cards and they're all sewn. You will note that one of my cards I actually forgot to sew around the edge. So I'm just going to leave that one as is. It's that one there. But the rest I've sewn around the 3 sides, and then I've sewn the ruffles down. So I'll just show you each one individually. There's a few raggedy threads there that I'm pulling off. I'll show you each one individually at the end. But what I decide to do is I decide to name each one of my little girls. So I'm pulling out my little letter stamps and I will give each girl a name. They're just random names that come into my head. So this first little girl is called Grace, and I'm just going to stamp her name on the card somewhere. So this is my second little girl coming up, and for this little girl I decide to name her Hannah. Card number 3, and this little girl with her red wings is called Lily. Okay, the 2 girls on this next card are called Jane and Cindy. And this one with the pretty blue ticket and pink flower is called Amelia. And now this one on the purpley card with the pink flowers is called Lola. Lola's one of my favourite names. If I was ever going to have a girl, I wanted to call her Lola. So I had to include that. And now the little girl, she actually looks like Shirley Temple. I thought about calling her Shirley, but I decided to go with Sammy. Here we have Elizabeth, which is quite a long name. This this next one kind of reminds me of my sister when she was young, so I decided to call this one Rachel. This one's for you, Rach. I'll give you this card. And then, of course, I need to have a Lucy. So this little one here with dark hair needs to be Lucy because Lucy has long dark hair and she looks a little Italian to me. So I thought as there's a Rachel and a Lucy, there also needs to be me. This one here has shorts on and short hair. It reminds me of me, a bit of a tomboy. So that one's Sarah. And then finally, my last one is going to be, this one is Anna. So there's all my 12 cards and they've each got a name. So there's my little project with watercolor backgrounds and pretty fairy journaling cards. I hope you like what I've done and I'll endeavour to get some more videos done this week. Thanks for watching. Bye.